This week on the Orange Box Podcast, we talk about last week's Nintendo Direct, give our predictions for the upcoming PlayStation State of Play, and more. All of this tonight, but first, on to the new Beautiful Bean intro. Welcome to the place where PC and console gaming talk combine. This is the Orange Box Podcast, episode 123. I am your host, the man who has learned that a Kool-Aid man-sized person can run, jump, and slide with ease, Nathan, also known as the Frozen Gamer 87. And joining me, as always, the man whose life's trailer has AI-generated smear frames, Justin, better known as I'm Zaracon. How you doing today? How's your week been?
Oh man, this week has been, it's been a roller coaster up and down. I mean, it started off sort of with lows, but it just sort of progressed and got better throughout the week. So last Wednesday, as I was walking back from the office and whatnot to like the subway station, I tripped in the ice several times just because the sidewalks had not been shoveled and whatnot, and I didn't think much of it. The falls weren't that bad, and I was like, no big deal, no harm. I mean, I was a little sore the next day, but I was like, it's no big deal. However, when I went to turn on my work computer, I saw that there were massive cracks on the screen, and it was black, and then I realized those falls were not harmless after all. I mean, fortunately, I was able to. My desk had a monitor there, so I could just hook it up and use the display port, and everything else was working fine. But I got into contact with IT, and they were able to start working on getting me a replacement laptop, which I got back today. And there's something else that happened that, and I'll get to that soon after. So I've been working with that for the past week since then. The following day on Thursday, I mentioned this to you, but I forgot to mention this last week, was I had my annual review, just performance review and stuff, and so I was nervous about that, but it actually ended up being a whole lot better than
Nice.
I anticipated, so I'm grateful for that. So like, I guess a couple things I guess I should just be looking toward working, but it's not something that I initially was expecting to hear. I mean, it was a sort of more of a positive thing to look forward to, something to work toward, rather than, hey, here's stuff that you need to be working upon because, there are problems here and here, where it's like, nah, that wasn't really all that. So that was pretty good. Even though, and then Sunday, even though I don't watch football or anything like that, still sort of did a type of Super Bowl meal stuff. So I made some cheesesteak subs, made some taco dip, and made some crab dip, and that was pretty enjoyable. Like I said, even though I didn't watch, and I don't watch football, I was like, yeah, I'll celebrate with the food, even if I'm not watching the game at all. That was fun. I meant to work on, or at least finish editing my video that I said I was going to do, but I had some hiccups over the weekend, so that caused delays, and that has further since delayed that, but I'm still aim on getting that finished up in the near future. But then today, lastly, while I was in the office, the power suddenly went out, and at first I thought it was just a small minor thing. Everyone was surprised, and then I thought, okay, maybe it's just our floor, maybe just the building. Turns out it was essentially the local area.
Wow.
And some people were still working, and oddly enough, even though the power was out, the Wi-Fi was still working, which was
Yeah, it's probably just battery backups that they have the system on.
Okay, that would make sense then. But some people were still working. I of course couldn't work because I didn't have my new laptop yet, so I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna wait for it to come back on. Eventually, there was a message posted saying that our local power utility said it was a wide outage and they wouldn't expect the power to come back on within 2 hours of when it originally went out. So we were told essentially just to go home. But before I left, I was quickly went down to IT and said, hey, before I go home, like, should I expect to get a laptop? So they gave it to me. They said they were gonna like help sync up my stuff later on, but I was like, that's cool. As long as I have this and can get to work, that's fine. But then before we signed off for the day, we just had an announcement saying that power is still expected to be out today, so just stay home tomorrow. So I was like, that is fine with me. I will gladly work from home tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I sort of have to look forward to. But yeah, so had a rough start, but all in all, though, things turned around by the end. So I'm grateful for that.
That's good. Let's see here. On my end, so we got our half cow delivered Friday afternoon, and so altogether it's like around 240, no, 250 pounds of beef. So I originally said it was like 420 pounds. I was mistaken. That's the hanging weight, which includes the bones and everything. So typically it's about 60 to 65% of the hanging weight is the actual meat. So, but even still, it's a lot of meat. So, been able to enjoy some of that a bit. We didn't do anything for Friday because of the fact that, Sunday for Super Bowl, because of the fact that we had family groups that day. So we had our normal family group. Had the Indian food we were originally going to have, and thankfully I still had some left over in the freezer because I saved about half of it to bring to the family group. So that was nice and easy for that. My wife made up some stuffed naan, like a sweet stuffed naan that had coconut, pistachios, craisins, and honey, and I think butter as well. It was very good. It was inspired by some that we had gotten at the Indian restaurant close by here that we really like. But yeah, and Saturday, the day before, I had gone over to help my nephew start putting together his PC, which we don't have all the parts yet, but he already had the case and the SSD. And since I had, some parts I could give him, and, of course, now I can actually talk about it on here since they listen sometimes. I was able to give him the extra 32 gigs of RAM I had from the living room PC because 64 gigs is overkill, and I literally had just bought it, whenever that was, a couple years ago, just to fill the empty slots. So it was a lot more efficient that way than having to try and buy it separately. Cool, because I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I told you about this. So I had ordered some for him through eBay, and the seller, the price was good. It was like about $80 for 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM, which is about the same amount that I had paid when I had gotten the extra 32 to put in that computer. And but I hadn't gotten a shipment notification. I tried contacting the seller and said, this person's profile no longer exists. And so it was obviously a scam, an attempted scam. Thankfully, eBay, of course, refunded me, so it wasn't a big deal from that standpoint. But what I had also done was I had found a 3060, a 12 gig 3060 that I wanted, that was like about $200, and I thought, that's a pretty good price. I might as well grab it, and then when my nephew has the money, he can buy that one. He'll have to actually buy from me. And so I had ordered that, and initially So I think it was like several days after I paid for it, the seller contacted me and just said, "I'm sorry, I've been working a lot. I haven't had a chance to ship it out." And it's like, "Yeah, no problem. I understand that happens, and no rush. I don't need it right away." And then I think was the fourth rolled around, and he said, "Okay, I got it shipped out, and saw that there was tracking. It just basically said that USPS was waiting the item, which happens sometimes." And then sixth rolls around, and he contacts me and he says, "I contacted the post office and asked them about it, and apparently I'm like missed the cutoff on the fourth, and so it didn't get shipped out yet." But it was starting to become a little bit concerning because it's like, okay, is this a person who's maybe trying to scam me too? And of course, my alarm bells are going off a little bit more just because I'm kind of paranoid, even though at the same time, the fact that he actually contacted me and this stuff is like, okay, this is plausible. I've worked with the Postal Service before, to where I've had issues like this. So, like, I understand. But I was still a little wary. And so I just contacted him. I think it was it might have been sometime on Saturday that I contacted him because it still didn't show anything. It didn't even show that it had been received yet by the Postal Service, even though the shipping label was created. And so I started thinking, oh, maybe, if this person was trying to scam me, they could have created a separate profile to buy something from themselves, in which case, they basically they wouldn't have to do anything because they just pretend that they're buying it, but in reality they're not. And so the money's just going around in circles. And that, this whole thing was just kind of an elaborate ruse to try and trick me. So I asked him, "Hey, can you contact the Postal Service again and find out what's going on?" And by the time he got the message, like he had responded to me, and it was like just before or just after that I saw that that the Postal Service had received the package and that it had shipped out. So it's like, okay, my initial instinct was correct. This guy was legit. The package is coming, and as long as it doesn't end up being a brick in the box, we should be good. But I'm pretty confident it's gonna be fine. So yeah, that was a little bit of an interesting experience. But I guess I should back up as well. So as far as the stuff that I gave to my nephew, so the thing I actually bought for him was a motherboard. And just, an AM4 motherboard, because we're just doing an AM4 build. And I, put together PC part picker list just so that I know what parts need to go in there. Got him a motherboard, of course, gave him the DDR4 RAM. I happened to have an extra power supply, which, having done all the build, I knew was going to be enough to cover the full build with a 3060 and everything else. Going with a very basic, I can't remember the exact CPU, but it's like a Ryzen 7 something or other. Actually, it might even be a Ryzen 5. I can't remember which one it is, but it's one of the cheap ones. It's like under $100, like $89. And, a good fan, actually the same one that I have in my build. And so, thankfully the 500 watt power supply I had on hand was sufficient enough to where I could give him that. And then I just had my extra monitor, the fourth monitor that isn't being used. It was literally just sitting in a room, not doing anything. So we put together as much of his PC as we could. He already had like I said, he already had the case and the SSD. So we got everything else in there that we were able to put in. So at this point, all he needs is the graphics card, the CPU, and the CPU fan. And then he'll be good to go. So I just told him, if you save up the money, then, I'll hold this graphics card for you. I'm just going to charge you exactly what I paid for it. And that way he can, build it all himself. And I told him, because I'm giving him a bunch of parts, not as a birthday gift, but just because I have these extra parts, because obviously, like, the motherboard I bought for him, it's his motherboard, but the RAM and stuff, I'm basically saying, it's yours to use as long as you want to use it, but if you ever decide to upgrade your system, any of those parts can just come back to me. because I can still use them for something else. And that way it also doesn't come across as like, oh, I'm, you know, he's my favorite nephew or something, when it just happens to be, this is the situation, the way it worked out, that I happen to have these parts when he wanted to build, and so, I did this one thing for him actually bought him something, and then the rest of it is all just, I had the parts, they're not being used, or, in the case of that 32 gigs of RAM, technically it wasn't being used, because even though it was plugged in, it wasn't actually doing anything in the system. And just basically helped him get started out, and the rest of it is piece of cake to put together. So it's just a matter of waiting until he has the money, which I expect it will be a while, but at least the parts are already there. So if the AI bubble doesn't burst anytime soon, then he'll still be set on being able to build a PC. But yeah, the only other thing is we have a chili competition at work tomorrow, so I made up some chili for that, and we'll see if this is win number 4 or not. I mean, I think from looking at it, it looked like nobody else was really trying to compete, so it seems like as soon as they saw my my name on the list, there was only one person who was actually like trying to compete against me. The last time it was actually a tie between me and one other person, but I don't think she's participating this time. So I don't know. Either way, there's plenty of chili. It's good and has some of the fresh beef and some homemade pork sausage with pork shoulder I ground up, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Nice. Yeah, I guess they'll have to rename the challenge the Nathan Chili Challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely great to hear everything. I mean, apart from the one scammer, I'm glad that the GPU at least seems to be very legitimate, and that it was just a case of the seller really just being busy with stuff, and the post office just also having some difficulties there. So definitely glad that part is taken care of, and hopefully everything will be also correct once your package arrives. But I'm almost glad that you were able to just begin getting the process of building the PCs, so I know that was pretty good. I meant to send a message earlier, but I forgot, and since you mentioned the monitors, what OLED monitor do you currently have again?
It is an MSI something or other. Okay. I could find the model for you, but I just remember it's an MSI OLED HDR 240 hertz. But yeah, that's the extent of what I remember offhand.
All right. I guess. Okay, that's fine. I guess sort of one question I was gonna ask was because I saw a deal for an OLED monitor, and I was just like, I don't know if that's worth jumping on right now. It was a Samsung 27-inch 1440p monitor, 180 hertz for $350, and I was like, is that a good deal? Is that like
it could be
reasonable?
I mean, mine's let's see, mine's MSI Mag 27-inch QD OLED, obviously 1440p with HDR and 240 hertz, but that was like $600. So it seems like the 180 hertz, that's probably a good deal. I just don't know enough about the quality of Samsung monitors in general, whether they're still really good or if they're declining in quality and all that. So
okay, yeah, I just want to like get some input or anything. But
does that one have HDR as well, or just OLED?
I think that's a good question. Let me just quickly see if that was mentioned or not. And it says it does. Okay, yeah, it doesn't say anything about HDR actually,
Hmm.
which might be why it's possibly on sale for that price.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to get an OLED monitor, you might as well get one with HDR as well.
Mhm.
That's, personal opinion. Obviously, you just do whatever you want to do, but I know that fit better with what I was looking for, and I'm really glad I went for it.
Oh wait, never mind. I see one thing here. It says just HDR 10.
Okay. So yeah, it does have HDR.
Okay.
I mean, personally, like, if it was me, I probably would jump on it. I mean, because right now yours is like 144 hertz, right?
165.
Oh, okay, 165. All right. So either way, it's an
Yeah.
upgrade.
Yeah, so I might go ahead and do that then.
Nice.
All
Look
right.
forward to hearing about it.
All right, yeah, I think that's everything I have then.
All right, sounds good. Well, why don't you tell me what you've been playing this week?
All right, so just getting this one sort of out of the way. Uh, I started back with Satisfactory sessions with my buddies, and it's definitely been a while since I played because they had accomplished so much more since the last time I left, and that they actually had train highways set up. That was just very daunting to see. Additionally, I remembered, thankfully, at the beginning that I had to retrieve my gear because last time I played, I died before we ended our session.
Oh.
So I went back after a while, and it took me... It was a while trying to figure out where my body was before, so I'm trying to just go back and get everything. So after I did manage to do that, I was just trying to partially explore and also try to see if there were any other hard drives I could find. And I did manage to find a few more, until I went to this one swamp area where there were these giant spiders. And these, unfortunately, were so much faster than the others. And one of them also was radioactive. And they also jump about maybe 500 feet in the air. So even if you try to jetpack away, they can still get you. And so I died, and I said, all right, let me go back, get my body, and get some revenge. And a buddy of mine said, hey, make sure you take these, essentially they're grenades. And he said, just take some, throw them, and it'll wipe out enemies pretty easily. I said, all right, cool, I'll use that. Took some, started throwing them around. Spider still jumped me. And I said, okay, I'm going to go back again and try to get all my stuff back. And this time, I'm just going to start throwing grenades haphazardly all around me. And it started to work until I got jumped from behind by another spider.
Oh, man.
And I'm just like, at this point, can we just nuke the area? Because these guys are just a massive pain right now. And I mean, the ones that you're probably seeing in the video are not the giant ones I'm talking about, obviously. But it just was a mess. So half of the night was me trying to get revenge and also get my stuff back, and the others were just trying to help just finish researching everything and fix the infrastructure and improve it. And I'm just like, all right, I'm just having a personal vendetta right now. So next time I play, I'm going to again be trying to figure out how to get my stuff back and whatnot. So yeah, that was fun. And I played some more Hades too. Now, initially I didn't play all that much, but then throughout the weekend I played some more of that. And I've been just making some progress here and there, partially just going ahead and taking care of some more chaos trials, and also partially working on the on some of my fear as well, so trying to do some stuff there. Right now I've started primarily just working on the different rival challenges and stuff, which I didn't realize initially those were tied to the weapon you use. So I've been switching between the weapons, trying to figure out like, all right, what's great. And fortunately, I mean, I guess to a degree, fortunately, the weapons that I probably consider the worst aren't the ones that you need to face Chronos with. So I'm definitely grateful for that, because if I have to use something like the skulls and face Chronos, I would probably not make it that far.
Yeah.
So that's definitely been interesting. Then I guess as I'm playing, also just naturally unlocking a few certain I guess side bits of side content as well, and still trying to just upgrade other aspects as well. So yeah, making progress on that end. I feel like eventually I'll want to take another stab at the overworld, but after knowing what's waiting up there, I'm just like, yeah, I think I'm better. I think I'm like it down here where it's safer, and I don't die so easily. But yeah, that's what I've been doing there. And then lastly, because of the mention you had last week with it when you were talking about Guacamelee, and you mentioned how you got the extra dash with the chicken, and it reminded you of the moon jump. I said, well, the first thing that popped in my mind was the moon jump, the space jump you get in Metroid Fusion. And so I said, you know what? I've got a taste for Metroid Fusion. So I started playing that. And yeah, this is definitely, I mean, what can I say? It's a good game. It's a fun game. It definitely took some of the core or the things that made Super Metroid great and just has some better quality of life improvements, such as, you know, just being able to hang from ledges and do stuff like that, and other aspects as well, you know, being able to improvements with your aiming and stuff, like being able to use with one button instead of having to use both shoulder buttons to aim up or down. So I think, like, overall it just was, it definitely improved on things there. Now I would say I'm probably about halfway through the game right now, because I just went and faced the boss Yakuza, and that guy that guy, he really gave me a lot of grief when I first played this game years ago, just because of the one attack he has where if he grabs you, he just goes up and slams you right into the ground. And essentially, I think probably I didn't have as much health when I played them, because I couldn't find that many E-tanks as I did this time around. But essentially, it only took 4 or 5 hits from him to kill me, and that just made me so mad. I rage quit the game when I first played it. But yeah, this time around, since I've played the game, you know, several times, he was not that big of a deal, and I was like, all right, that's cool. I know what you're going to do now, and I also know how to properly dodge you. So, you know, it was much more manageable. But yeah, this game is just good. It's fun, and while I don't know the game by heart like I do Zero Mission, I still am able to essentially remember roughly where I need to go before I'm told where I need to go, and I know sort of like, all right, here's what I can expect. You know, oh, here, do this, do that. Oh no, there's the SAX. Except I did make a mistake though, thinking that I was in a situation where I was supposed to be caught by the SAX, but I wasn't supposed to. So I said, all right, no, I know I'm supposed to bomb this wall here. I guess I might as well use my power bomb. No, I was not supposed to use a power bomb, and I got the attention. But it wasn't hard to just get away. So that was that. But yeah, so I think like I said, I think I'm probably about halfway, maybe 60% through with the game. But I'm definitely going to be seeing this to the end, just because Fusion is a good game. And while it doesn't hold as high of a place as Zero Mission does in my heart, it's still a good game. And, you know, I think the idea of being hunted as a hunter is great. And while it might not be as fleshed out as it might have been in, say, Dread, just because you have like multiple enemies that hunt you around, it still is a fantastic game overall. But yeah, that is everything that I have played.
Very nice. Yeah. Man, Fusion, like, I've only played all the way through it once, and the second time I played most of the way through it, but there's a certain point where if you go through a specific save room, then you no longer have the ability to backtrack any further, and you have to go face the SAX. There's no, you can't get anywhere else on the map, and it's just like, when that happened to me, because then I had no way to get the majority of the upgrades, and I was still missing a bunch of upgrades, and so I tried facing SAX, and I couldn't even handle it. I mean, the first time that I played the game, I did it on an emulator, and I was abusing save states. Second time that I was most of the way through it, almost done with the game, I was playing the 3DS version. That, because of the fact that it never got an official release beyond the ambassadors, it didn't have save states, and so there was just no way that I was going to be able to get through that. I tried a bunch of times, and I didn't get far at all in that fight, and so I never ended up finishing it the second time, which was a bit frustrating. But it's just like, well, I can't get to any more of the upgrades. There's a whole bunch of stuff I'm missing, and I just wasn't properly equipped for it, unfortunately. So, but still a great game. Yeah. Oh yeah, with Hades 2, one thing that I definitely found is when it comes to the skull weapon, if you can ever get the dataless hammer that makes the skulls automatically return to you, it makes a huge difference. It makes it a much better weapon to use. I can't remember what the name of the ability is, but you would know it if you came across it. The unfortunate thing is that I think of all the times I had to use that one, there was probably only like 3 or 4 times total that I even got that upgrade to show up. And that's not one where you can re-roll for it, unfortunately. Or, with the dataless hammers, you can't re-roll. So, definitely the luck of the draw, but that makes a big difference, because then you can just fire them off and they come right back to you, instead of having to dash towards them to pick them back up. So, but yeah, good stuff. Alright, so my gaming stuff this week. First of all, I want to mention, I went ahead and, after we had, mentioned it last week, when I was talking about the Fanatical bundles and some of the games that I got for super duper cheap because of that, I decided I wanted to try out Teslagrad. So I didn't play very much, and one thing that I want to clarify on this game, I'm not actually sure if it's considered a Metroidvania or not. I thought it was, but it might just be more of a puzzle platformer. But honestly, I'm not entirely sure whether or not which one's considered, because like Steam had it categorized differently than I thought it was. And but anyway, I didn't play very much. I basically just played. I got past the first boss, and I got the upgrade that you get directly after defeating the boss. But otherwise, I didn't play any further. And it's not because I wasn't enjoying it. I actually was enjoying it quite a bit. But it's more just because I'm playing other stuff, and I really just wanted to try it out. But I was playing it on Steam Deck, and so dog wanted out. I was playing it on Steam Deck, and I was getting locked to 90 frames per second. There's not a whole lot of visual settings, but it's as max as it can be. Looks great, runs great, has good music. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, I liked what I played for sure. I definitely could see myself getting very much into that, but more what I'm playing right now is stuff on the 3DS and Switch. So, but yeah, so getting that out of the way, since I didn't play very much of it. When we talked a bunch about Monster Hunter Wilds last week, I decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and see how this game runs now. And I ended up doing it on my desktop rather than my laptop. Mostly just because of the fact that I figured, well, that's going to be a really good way to test out Monster Hunter Wilds and see how it's running now. And I'm not sure if it's really running any better for the most part. Like I would definitely say in the camps it's better than it was before. Like it's not, the frame rate isn't dropping so much. In fact, it's staying pretty much the same as it is in the rest of the world. But the frame rate, at least with all the settings maxed out, and you know, whether you have ray tracing turned on or not, it doesn't seem to really make a difference in the frame rate, strangely enough. But it's like in the 60 to 80 range on average, at 1440p. So it's like, it's fine. It's not bad. I mean, it's definitely a big improvement over what it was when I was first playing, but considering how strong my PC is, it really should run better than that. So still not quite ideal. I mean, it's very playable. Like I could easily play it that way. I just kind of wish it ran better. But I decided because of that I also wanted to check and see, you know, like how much different both Wilds and World run. So I ended up playing those, and here showing here is actually a side-by-side comparison between the three. You're not really seeing the frame rate counter on it, but not surprisingly, both Rise and World run anywhere from the high 170s or the mid 170s up to 240 frames per second, with everything maxed out at 1440p. And both of them look really, really good. Like, you can definitely see the differences just in visuals between each one, particularly, especially when it comes to like animations and everything. Like, Wilds definitely has the most impressive animations and the environments and everything. It's like, it's a much better looking game, and so it's understandable why it's more demanding. But it's also definitely runs the worst of the three. And obviously, you know, Rise is originally a Switch game, so even though it certainly looks and runs a lot better than it does on the Switch, it definitely has elements where you can tell, yeah, this was definitely a Switch game. And World, of course, was originally a PS4 and PC game. Actually, I think it started just on PS4 and then it came to PC. And I'm pretty sure it never went anywhere but those two platforms.
It was on Xbox One.
Did it go to Xbox One later?
Yeah, I think it released same day or something. Or if it didn't release on the same day, it came eventually because a buddy of mine played it on Xbox.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I guess I'm wrong on that. But either way, yeah, it was... I mean, it looks and runs really well. Like, definitely the biggest thing that I noticed that was different was the faces, you know, the animations there, and just the look of the faces in general. Like, it definitely doesn't look great, but everything else looks great. It runs really well, plays really well. But yeah, so, you know, obviously 3 great games for the most part. I mean, like, Wilds, I could see myself getting really into. But once again, it just keeps being like, I need to finish something else. You know, finish like at least Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate before I jump into any of the others, because 3 Ultimate's just been stuck in my backlog forever. And so I finally went back to 3 Ultimate on the 3DS. Now, of course, I don't actually have any footage myself recorded. I'm just playing the trailers. So 3 Ultimate... The main thing is I just got tired of trying to grind to get like this one exceedingly rare drop that you need in order to upgrade the weapons that I was using. And so I went ahead and just decided, okay, well, first of all, since I already have the ability to add cheats, I want to see what kind of cheats are available. I was really just looking for you know, seeing if there was any way that I can more easily get the particular drops I was looking for. Because, like, I fought the Brachydios, or however you pronounce it. I fought this thing, like, 50 times, and it's just not dropping this one exceedingly rare drop from it. And so there was a cheat I found that made it so that you could, by just pressing L, R, and down, when you get into a quest, it auto-completes the quest. And so I thought, okay, well, that could be a way to potentially get the thing to drop without having to fight this thing over and over and over. I did that a few times. It didn't drop that at all, and so I finally just gave up on trying to do that. But I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll try going for a different weapon. Go for something completely different. I've never been good with the great swords, but maybe since I started getting used to, since I use like great swords in Dark Souls, maybe I could learn how to use the great sword. And so I tried messing around with that. I definitely like it more than I did before, but I'm still not really comfortable with it. I was mostly fighting the Devil Yeho or Devil Zhou, or however you pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce most of these names, and the fact that they're not, these games weren't voiced makes it even harder. Maybe they voice it, since they do voice it in later games, maybe that's how I would find out how to pronounce it. But anyway, so I worked on that a bit, but I didn't get a whole lot of anywhere. After a while, I finally decided, okay, I'm going to jump back into Mark of a Hero. I'm going to see if I can just get through this. And I forgot exactly how it starts. So the way it works is that you start off the fight, you have just this tiny arena, and first you get the Ivory Lagiacrys to show up. Once you beat that, then both the Azure Rathalos and the Brachydios show up at the same time. So after a bunch of attempts, I finally, I couldn't beat the Ivory Lagiacrys. I've beaten it plenty of times in high rank, but this is a G rank fight where all three monsters are G rank, which was just ridiculous. And I finally just decided, okay, you know what? I'm tired of trying to do this. I'm just gonna cheat so I can finish this stupid quest and just finally be done with this game. And so I just turned on the infinite health, and then I fought it until I beat it, and then the other two show up and they do a lot of damage to each other, but it still gets pretty chaotic having both of them there at the same time in the small arena, both hitting very hard and everything else. And since I had infinite health, it wasn't a huge deal, but it still just took a while. But I was able to take them both out, kill them myself, even if it was with infinite health. So it was obviously cheating. But it's like, okay, I finally did it. I just wanted to finish that. Good to go. Then there's one last quest that shows up, which at this point I'm just ready to be completely done. I went in briefly, tried briefly, and then I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna do the infinite health thing. That actually didn't work properly because it was still able to do damage to me even with the infinite health cheat on. So it's like, okay. So I ended up just using the LR and down combo to complete the quest, so that it marks off that I've completed all the quests in the game. It's like, I completed the vast majority of the quests. I don't care enough to fight this thing once, let alone multiple times. I don't have armor that's good enough here. I don't have any G rank armor. I'm not skilled enough to get past this. The game doesn't run at the best frame rate anyway on the 3DS. Because, it was a port from a Wii game, and so it's basically 30 frames, and I think with the 60 FPS cheat that I have enabled, it does better than that, but it's still not really like maintaining 60. But either way, as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with the game. I'm finally done with Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, ready to move on. And so I went ahead and booted up Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, which I had already played probably like 25 hours back when it first came out, because of course I couldn't help giving into the hype because I was excited about it, and of course it's a 3DS exclusive and I love the 3DS, and so I bought it back then, and had played a bit before I finally just decided to stop because of the fact that I hadn't finished 3 to my satisfaction. And now that I've finished 3 to my satisfaction and I feel like I'm actually ready to move on, I got back into 4, and I've been playing quite a bit of it. It's my game to play while we have a TV show on in the background, or I'm listening to other stuff. And because of the fact that one was built specifically for the 3DS rather than being a port from a Wii game, it runs a lot better. I think they target 60 already, and on the new 3DS, at least with the cheat enabled, it is able to maintain 60 a lot better. So, plus it also looks a lot better because of the fact that it's actually built for the 3DS rather than being ported over. It's more colorful, and just the visuals are better across the board. And yeah, so I'm having a good time with that one. It's a lot of fun. The reason I was a little bit late tonight was actually because I was fighting a big baboon that kept farting on me and stuff, and I wanted to kill him before we started the show because I was in the middle of the fight. Not that he gave me a ton of trouble, but it was still just like, I want to finish this. So so yeah. But I did also finish up Apollo Justice. So I finished that. What was that? I think that was Saturday. Might have actually been yesterday. Now that I think about it, might have been Monday. I think that's when I finished Apollo Justice. So I really enjoyed the way it ended. And it really made me want to go to the next game in the series. But because of the fact that I'm trying to play through them in release order, I ended up not going to the next game in the series. I just went to the next game that was released. Rather the remaster of the next game that was released, which is the Ace Attorney Investigations games, where you walk around as Miles Edgeworth. So I started playing the first one. I haven't gotten far into it. I put maybe like somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour total into it so far, but I'm having a good time with it. It has some quality of life improvements. One of the things I really like is the fact that because of the fact that you're walking around, instead of having to like randomly guess at what things around the environment can actually be tapped, when you walk up to something, if it can be tapped, it has a little question mark, and it tells you when you've gotten all the clues in the area instead of it just being like, oh, okay, I think I got everything. But yeah, I'm having a good time with it. It looks really, really good on the Switch OLED. It looks absolutely fantastic on the screen. And the other games looked great on the 3DS screen, but this one is just like, that OLED screen is just really bright and beautiful, and the game just looks great on there. And I'm having a good time with it, the little bit that I played. And pretty much right now, like, the way I'm looking at it is that I'm going to play Miles Edgeworth when I have the ability to do something where I can focus on a story and everything, and then when I need something that I could just play with stuff on in the background, that's when I'll play Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. And that's pretty much where I am right now, and that's everything I played.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask you about, you mentioned about the quality of life improvements for Miles Edgeworth, because I really was just curious to know how investigating, for clues and stuff differed in that, compared with, the traditional Ace Attorney games. I mean, I know that they probably worked stuff around because it originally was a DS game, and the original Ace Attorney games were just Game Boy Advance games, so like the technology was different at the time. But I was just wondering about, like, hey, what could have changed, and also I guess to a degree, is there something that happened, or I guess would there have been a reason why they wouldn't use or keep those sort of changes for future games? So like, do you think it's something that, as far as like with walking around and looking for different clues. Do you think that's something they should have kept for the later games, or do you think it's fine that they went back to the more traditional standard?
I mean, I think it's fine because this was intended to be a spin-off, just like a different way of doing things. And like I don't know what, if anything, they carry over in the later Apollo Justice games, but at least with the first one, it obviously is very it plays very similarly to how the first Ace Attorney trilogy did, just with, you know, a handful of quality of life improvements. But this one, I think it's just different because of the fact that, well, for one, they just wanted to make it feel different because you're playing as a different character, but they also just do a variety of things that make it different. Like, one of the things I really like is, you know, how the solutions sometimes are really obtuse in the Ace Attorney games and the main ones. This one, like when you get the different clues, you use logic in order to figure out how things connect to each other. So then you get a better idea of what the game is looking for in order to understand things better. So that when it comes to the point that you're actually trying to use those clues, then you can actually see more what the game is going for. And a lot of times it's just, I don't know. In general, I already think that it improved a lot from the first trilogy in how clear some of those solutions are. Because like the first Ace Attorney game especially, and even the second one, the solutions were just super obtuse sometimes. And then the third one, it got a little better, but it still was pretty obtuse. And then the Apollo Justice game, it was a lot better. A lot less hard to figure out, but still has moments like that. And this one, like I'm still super early in it, so I can't say that it's always going to be that case. But at the same time, I also feel like it's just a big improvement.
Okay. So, wow, I don't even know where to begin. Monster Hunter, just like a lot of stuff we could say about that. I'm definitely glad that, at least for World and Rise, the performance is definitely a whole lot better than before. It's just still, it is weird though that for Wilds that the improvement isn't as drastic as you would have expected. Again, considering the fact that your PC is pretty much high-end, or close to being as high-end as you could possibly get these days. So, I mean, like, it's weird that the performance isn't better. So, I mean, I don't know if it's still Capcom needing to optimize some things. I don't know if it's the RE engine, again, being used for open world when it's not really capable or meant to do that. I don't know if it's even de novo for that matter, but you know, it's just a shame that you're not able to get the full potential that you possibly should be getting. But yeah, and I guess I do have a question though, just for those three games, World, Rise, and Wilds, which of those gameplay wise do you find the most appealing? I mean, I haven't played Wilds, but I do know that World and Rise, World and Rise are fundamentally different. So, like, between those three games, which do you find more appealing?
It's probably between Rise and Wilds. Now, granted, I played very little of World. Like, I think I might have hunted one big monster. I can't remember if I did or not. I think actually, no, I probably didn't, now that I think about it. I think I've only done the smaller monsters so far. Especially because the beginning of the game is just very tutorial heavy. And I think that's probably always been the case in Monster Hunter. I just felt a little bit more because I was trying to get through it more quickly. But, like Rise, of course, I think Rise has very smooth gameplay. And of course it runs really, really well. Both on PC and on Steam Deck. And of course, it added the quality of life improvements, especially being able to, ride around the Palamute and then using that to not only get around quickly, but you can, sharpen your weapon while riding it. And there's the wire bug and things like that are really helpful for that. But then Wilds has a lot of those same things, and then also has like some additional things like being able to use like a grapple thing to pick up items as you're riding along, rather than having to walk up to them. And granted, Rise already had that to an extent, and same with World. World has you pick up items a lot faster, but Rise you could pick up items while on the Palamute, and it was still a lot faster. But Wilds also has that the wound mechanic where, like, after you've done damage to an enemy, you can hold down, I think, the left trigger, if I remember correctly, and then it like highlights wounds on the enemy, and then you hold down the R button, and then it'll like automatically attack to do extra damage to those wounds and basically make them explode, and it's pretty nifty. But Wilds, I'm also like not super duper familiar with all the mechanics because I've only played it in a small amount in small spurts. But I mean, like, Wilds definitely looks the best of the three by far. It is definitely far and away the best looking of the three. In terms of, I mean, the characters look better, the monsters look better, the environments look a lot better. Just like pretty much everything about that game looks incredible. And Rise is like is much more the anime art style than the other two, and still looks really good though. Like I really like the visual style and everything, and obviously it runs extremely well. But obviously the biggest issue I have with Wilds is just the fact that it doesn't run nearly as well. But I think that the likelihood that I would get into Wilds anytime soon is very low. Only because of the fact that I want to finish playing through 4 Ultimate because I enjoy it, and also because I already put a good amount of time into it. I haven't decided if I will go back to Generations Ultimate, because both the Switch version, which is the Generations Ultimate, and the original Generations on the 3DS only run at 30 frames per second. So it's kind of I don't know if I really want to go back to that. But then there's a very good chance that I would probably go back to Rise, because Rise is great and runs really well on both Steam Deck and PC. So yeah, it'll be a while before I get to Wilds. World is one that, honestly, I think there's a more than reasonable chance that I would play Wilds before World, just because of the fact that I put more time into Wilds than I have into World. But who knows? I may change my mind on that, because I haven't played World on Steam Deck, and I can't remember if you said that you had tried it on Steam Deck.
I can't remember if I've tried it there or not. The only one I know I've played on there was Rise, but I can't remember if I actually played World or not.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I might try it on Steam Deck at some point, because I would like to get into it, but it's just, once again, the thing that held me back so much from, like, really diving deep into another Monster Hunter was the simple fact that I hadn't finished 3 to my satisfaction. And now I feel like I've actually finished it to my satisfaction. I don't have any interest in doing anything further in that game. Like, I got my, 250 hours in the game, and that was plenty of time. I completed all of the village quests, even if the last 2 of those I completely cheated on in order to finish them. But considering, how long it was taking me just to get past that so that I could actually enjoy the other games, I'm okay with it. And my hope is that, especially with the later ones being, having better frame rates and being, having better quality of life improvements and things like that, that it'll be easier for me to just play them through until I complete all the stuff. And who knows, because of the fact that, with the exception of maybe 4, I could still play with people, those other games, that might give me the motivation to finally, like, actually play with other people. Because I think 3, I only tried playing with other people, like, once or twice. And it wasn't doing voice chat or anything. It was literally, I just found some people, and I think I hunted, like, a Rathalos or something. But, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that these... Well, I guess they are still on. I didn't know the servers for the 3DS were still running.
They're not.
Oh,
This was way back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Back in probably like 2013, 2014, something like that.
Yeah, that makes more sense then. Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing, like, if you continue just to stick with 4 Ultimate. That one, I guess, holds a special place in my heart because that was the first one that I actually gave a real chance to. And that was the first one I actually bought. And I mean, I tried the demo for 3 on the original 3DS, and I think just because the controls are a whole lot different from what I was used to, especially with not having a right stick.
Right.
Even though I know they promoted getting like that accessory for the 3DS where it's like you have a right stick,
which was superb, by the way.
Oh yeah, I definitely believe that. And then also the fact that not being able to lock onto enemies, or if you wanted to lock onto them, you had to like tap the lower screen to hit the icons, or I think like just hit R, and then it will like lock on them temporarily, and you have to keep doing that to like adjust the camera. It was a complete shift from the type of games that I played before, where I was like, I don't think this Monster Hunter thing's for me. Although for some reason later on when I tried the demo for 4 before it released, I was like, you know what, this seems kind of interesting, I might give it a shot. So I bought the collector's edition for 4, and I was like, man, that monster looks really cool, which was the Gormagala, and I was just like, and ever since I first faced him in the game, I was like, yeah, this game's kind of peak right now. It's just like so good. And yeah, I just kept going. Now, I don't think I actually completed like all the way to the story end. Like, I got very far into the game, which I think would, in my mind at the time, I was like, okay, this is the end of the game. But I don't think I've reached that point where it was like the Mark of the Hero equivalent, or there probably is a mission that says Mark of the Hero, but I don't think I've actually reached that point. So maybe at some point I'll have to go back, because I think I still have the game, and see about like trying to complete that. But yeah, that one definitely, I definitely enjoyed so much, and that just like kickstarted me into like getting into the other games. I do feel like at some point I do want to go back and complete stuff with Rise. Like, I know I think I completed all the missions for the base game, but I still have to do stuff for like the DLC, and then also there's just like different grindy stuff, which isn't every Monster Hunter game, but you know, it is I think one of the drawbacks from Monster Hunter is the fact that you just have those drops that are just so aggravating that it's just like, why is this so rare that you have a percentage of a chance to get it? Like, if you have something that if you have a drop that is 0 point something, that shows you that that's just way too low. And you know, I don't necessarily want to have to play or face a monster 12 times before I get the drop that I need for this thing. You know, just to do one craft, especially if you need to like get 2 of them. That's just like, that's overkill, Capcom. But yeah, I might get back to it at some point, and because Rise I would say it definitely was my personal favorite of the ones I played after after playing 4, just because World felt too different to me, just because I initially was just accustomed to having split up areas, so it sort of like made trying to strategize a little bit easier, because hey, is this monster kicking my butt? I'll just hop over to the next zone where he can't attack me right now. Drink a potion, maybe sharpen my blade, and then just like run back to the next zone. But they cut that out in World. And while I appreciate some of the stuff like being able to grab items, track monsters, and all the other stuff, the feel was really too different to me. But Rise really just, for me, took the quality of life improvements from World, but still kept that that 3DS, that classic feel. And I was just like, this feels like home right here. So I was just like, yeah, that's great. So if Wilds is like that and just continues to improve in that aspect, I'm like, yeah, I can see where that goes. I can appreciate that. But I definitely wouldn't try it right now, just because I would like them to make some more improvements with the with the gameplay and stuff. But yeah, definitely great stuff all around though. I guess I would have one question though. What is your favorite monster to hunt though?
It's hard for me to say, mostly just because of the fact that like the bulk of my time in Rise, for example, was on the Switch, and that was several years ago at least. And 3, because I only really hunted a few monsters when I was getting back into the game, I would say maybe something like Lagiacrus was always one that I enjoyed hunting, just because of the fact that I kind of got used to its patterns, and of course it made a really cool set and all that. But plus it was really satisfying when I was finally able to beat it. But the in 4, I'm not sure yet. Most of my time played in the game was back in 2015, so it's been quite a while since I really got into the game, and so I'm just kind of just starting to get back into it. The little bit that I think I fought Gormagala. I can't remember if it's been one time or if it's been 2 times since I started playing again. But I'm planning to spend a bunch of time farming it to get gear, get armor set and all that. Probably get both a charge blade and potentially also a hammer based on Gormagala. But I don't know. I haven't fully decided all of that yet. I know that there's going to be some other stuff. A lot of it, I think, really just has to do with which ones give the coolest looking armor and weapons and all that. That's really what it comes down to. So the more I play, the more I'll have an opinion. But at least right now, I think I really want to just keep playing this, because I was super into 3 back in the day. I remember when I originally had heard about it in Nintendo Power for the Wii, I really wanted to try it out, and I ended up getting it. And I played a bit on the Wii, and it didn't fully grab me. I liked elements of it, but I was just not having the easiest time with it, and so I kind of just ended up dropping it. And then when I saw that it was coming to 3DS, it's like, ooh, 3DS, that's a perfect place to play it. And so I ended up buying it as soon as it was available, and then I just got completely absorbed in that game. And so then, when 4 came out, originally I wasn't planning on buying it because I hadn't finished 3, and then I gave into the hype, and I also have the collector's edition, although I sold the physical copy of the game that came with it, but I still have the box for it in a box somewhere, and I have the Gormagala statue as well. And then, I ended up eventually giving in to Rise as well. Not long after that came out on the Switch. And Wilds, I just got the code, so that's the only reason why I have that. already, and World I just bought for $10 last year. So, yeah. But anyway, that's about it.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, let's get into the news. So last week we had that Nintendo Direct, and I can already say we were wrong about pretty much everything we predicted. We did get 3 things correct, however. I got 2 correct, you got 1 correct. And I guess we can start by going over those, and then after we talk about those, we can go into other stuff that stood out to us. So first of all, I'll mention the thing that you got correct, which was a bit of a surprise to me, but at the same time it's like it was and it wasn't. And that was that the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered is coming to the Switch 2. And that is releasing this year. It just says 2026. That's all we know so far. The bit that we saw looks really good. It's, only 30 frames per second, of course. I'm sure that I did know, like there's some shimmering here and there, obviously using a heavy amount of upscaling, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was a bit surprised to see that they announced that, but yeah, I guess if they were going to, be porting over Indiana Jones originally, they would be sort of porting this one as well. It'll be interesting to see what the final product is like, but like you said, the fact that it is running, more or less at a consistent 30 isn't too big of a surprise. And, if people want to play Elder Scrolls 4, without having the other consoles or, having an older one of the original version, then this would be a way for people to experience it there. And I guess this would be a very good test to see how or what we could expect from more full Unreal Engine 4, or at least the more demanding Unreal Engine 4 games that come over to Unreal Engine 5 games coming to the Switch in the future. So that'll be interesting. And I know that this was announced for Indiana Jones. Was this one complete on cartridge or no?
They haven't said yet.
Okay. Alright, so I guess we'll see on that end then later on.
Yeah, I think that, if this one is complete on cartridge, I will probably get it. 30 frames per second is not ideal, but at least the footage that we've seen, it looks a lot better than it does on Steam Deck. Granted, all the footage we're seeing is obviously docked footage, but I still think that there's a more than reasonable chance that it would actually still look pretty good on the Switch 2 in handheld mode. Big thing for me is going to be, more than anything else, it's just a matter of, is it going to be fully on cartridge? That's really what it comes down to for me. That's the number one thing. Of course, the ideal would be if it had cross-save available, because then I could just take my Steam version, transfer my save over, and then play it portable on the Switch 2, and then play it, otherwise on my desktop, because I, obviously would much rather play it there for that. But of course, I guess now that I think about it, I can already play it on my laptop, so there wouldn't be a whole lot of purpose in that. But still, if the game is fully on cartridge, I'd be much more interested in purchasing it. Partially just to support that, but also because, I have Skyrim on cartridge, and I think getting Oblivion on cartridge would be pretty cool too. So, yeah, good stuff.
You mentioned just now, do any of the other Bethesda games have any type of cross save? I guess more so like with newer ones. To your
Not
but
that
to
I'm
your knowledge,
aware of.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering if you made like an account, if they would allow you to do like some sort of cross save or not. But I guess not.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that. I'm guessing probably not. If they did, that would definitely be a selling point for me. But yeah. All right, well, the next thing that we got correct, so they did, of course, show off Indiana Jones, and they gave the release date is May 12th. Much like Oblivion Remastered, this is 30 frames per second, but it's still looking very good. Obviously not quite as good as the other console versions or the PC version, but still very impressive for a handheld device. And I haven't heard anything about how it looks and runs in handheld mode versus otherwise, but the really good news about this is that the game is fully on cartridge, and obviously that won't include the DLC, but even still, the fact that the main game itself is fully on cartridge is very, very good. And yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely good to have this confirmation. Also getting a solid release date as well. Definitely, honestly, a bit sooner than I would have guessed, but that's still relatively close. So that's good. I think probably the best news is the complete on cartridge, which is just very surprising, especially for a game of this caliber. A lot of publishers would have shied away from that and said, yeah, key card for you, download the rest. Okay, we're not gonna spend that money on that. So definitely glad to hear that. And I think the only thing that actually does need to be downloaded is the Polish language. So like if you want to play the game in Polish, you actually do have to download that. But other than that, though, everything else is complete on cartridge. So that is phenomenal. And it really, I guess, just shows that all these other publishers that say, or at least let me back up. The publishers who can afford that type of thing but choose not to. So like obviously if you're a smaller dev like an indie, it wouldn't make sense to shell out the money for a 60 gigabyte card if your game is only like 5 gigabytes large. It's harder for you to like stomach that cost. But if you're a AAA publisher, why aren't you doing this? Like you can't eat that small cost and get it back later on. So definitely good on Bethesda for doing that, because it's sort of a rarity, and so it's good to actually have more games be complete and on cartridge rather than just throw a band-aid on it by using a key card. So good stuff there.
Yeah, I was actually I was very, very tempted to go ahead and just pre-order this because of the fact that I'm such a big fan of the fact that they're actually doing it all on cartridge. But then I thought about it and I realized, you know what? I can just wait for it to go on discount because it will go on discount at some point. It'll be a lot cheaper. And considering the fact that for $70, I mean, I could get the full game with the DLC on GOG sometimes. I mean, it does drop down to that price. So it's like, I might as well just, whenever I actually want to get this game to actually play it, I'll just get the GOG version probably, because then I have something that I actually own the game fully because it has the offline installers. I can get it for about the same price, maybe even less, including the DLC versus buying the physical version. And because this is a Bethesda game, this is not something that's going to go out of print anytime soon. So I should easily be able to find a physical version down the line for a good price. And something I do want to note is that I just looked it up, and Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition is also going to be fully on cartridge. So that gives high hopes as far as I'm concerned for Oblivion Remastered.
Nice.
But yeah, definitely very, very positive news on this. And if Bethesda puts all their games fully on cartridge, they're going to be games I will purchase for the Switch too, even if it's double dipping, which it will be double dipping because they're I mean, like Fallout 4, I already have the game on PC. In fact, I have it both on Steam and on GOG. I think I got it free on GOG though, and um, like none of these are day one purchases for the Switch 2 because I'm not going to spend that much money. I mean, why spend the money on what's technically an inferior version, just so that I can have the physical copy when it'll undoubtedly be available for a long time and go down to be a lot cheaper. So I'm just going to wait, but I will, God willing, at some point buy the physical versions of these games just for the sake of having that physical ownership and supporting the fact that they're putting the games fully on cartridge. All right. The last thing that was confirmed for Switch 2 that we had talked about was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and its release date. So I was very pleasantly surprised by this because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was not one that... Or, well, I guess I shouldn't say... Let me back up. I wasn't surprised at the fact that they gave a release date, that they confirmed it and everything, or the fact that they additionally confirmed the Xbox version coming out the same day. What I was pleasantly surprised by is that the game looks really good on the Switch 2 version, because they showed some gameplay footage out in the open world, which is really where it's most important, where it's most likely to have the issues with frame rate. Yes, it's only running 30 frames per second, but visually it's looking very good. Granted, that's probably all docked gameplay, so there may be some suffering when it comes to the handheld mode. And I mean, like, obviously a lot of what they showed was cutscenes, but there was some actual gameplay that they showed as well. And I'm very pleasantly surprised at how good it looks. So, I guess that's basically my thoughts, so why don't you go ahead and give yours?
Yeah, you definitely were right about this one showing up. And the fact that we also got a release date for this was also just as surprising to me personally. But, it's great that it's coming to this and, Xbox as well. So it definitely gives me high hopes that whenever Part 3 releases, okay, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe within a year, 1 year passes, it'll come to PC, Xbox, and Switch 2 all together, rather than after that time passes, it comes to the PC, and then after some more time passes, it comes to Switch 2 and Xbox. Just because I think, especially with, as we've mentioned before, Square's, pro multi-platform stance now, I think that this definitely gives them more time to plan and also work on ports rather than, the game, we're all of a sudden changing our stance now, so we're gonna work on making ports rather than, all right, we've got the game here, we'll start working on the ports like after we put out the PS5 version. And who knows, maybe even depending on what happens, we might, well, at least on PC, we probably might have to maybe wait 6 months rather than a full year, but that just might depend on full contractual agreements and obligations with Sony. So we don't know those aspects, but I have a feeling that the release window for other consoles will definitely be much shorter than they have been with Rebirth, and I guess to a lesser extent like Remake. That's a different thing altogether. But yeah, definitely great news that we got this information, and definitely leaves me with, and definitely the fact that the performance, considering the fact that Rebirth is more sort of demanding than Remake, that it's performing the way it is definitely pleasing to see.
Yeah, and I definitely look at this as I don't think Part 3 is going to be PlayStation exclusive temporarily. I think it's just going to be everywhere the same day. Now, whether or not that'll actually be the case, we'll have to wait and see. But I have a feeling that just with the way that Square has been with all of their releases lately, it's going to be same day everywhere. And obviously, just like you said, it depends on what type of contractual agreement they have with Sony. Because if Sony had it lined up for all 3 games to come to their platform first and have timed exclusivity, then yeah, we'll have part 3 there temporarily exclusive before it comes to the remaining platforms. But if they didn't have that agreement and it's been kind of like on a game-by-game basis, then there is a more than reasonable chance that it'll end up being that everything will come at the same time, and that we'll actually see it on all platforms at the same time, which I think would be perfect. I mean, hopefully that is the case, because that's going to give them the greatest sales potential of all. I mean, Part 3 is going to sell probably no matter where, whether it releases in separate phases or if it releases all at once, but I think that definitely the sales potential will be much, much higher if it sells all at once. So, especially because of the fact that depending on how they actually end it, whether they go with the original ending and it actually ends the same way, or if they end it in some different way, if they don't release it on the same platform all at once, then it could potentially be spoiled for a whole lot of people. So. Alright, good stuff on that. So, of course, now we have the discussion about additional things that stood out to us at the presentation. So, why don't you start us off?
So, I'm going to start off with something which was one of the earlier gameplay trailers they showed, and that was for a game called Orbitals. Now, what stood out to me was initially just the 80s anime art style, which I said, that looks beautiful. Like, that looks great. Like, I think it looks phenomenal. It reminds me, I can't remember what anime it reminds me of, but it just reminded me of a particular one. And I do think it looks great, but unfortunately, there were 2 drawbacks that I think the first one, or the second one, I should say, is something that, you know, could, if that's not a thing, or it's, you know, unended, that makes the first one needs to work around. But the first one was just like, I don't know how I feel about this, and that is the fact that it's a co-op only game, which I was like, that's a bit sad to see, just because, I mean, while playing co-op games is fun and enjoyable, if it's a co-op only game, that makes it harder to do. And sure, like, unlike with most of them, this is a couch co-op game, so, you know, that's fine. It's not like you have to always be online and to play the game. But I think that having a single player mode is preferable to me, and just having additional, you know, having someone have co-op as an option, I would have preferred that. But I guess, like I said, that is what it is. But the thing that I definitely can't get around is the fact that it's Switch 2 exclusive, at least as of right now. So even if it wasn't, co-op only, I can't play it anyway, just because it's only on the Switch 2.
Right.
So we'll have to see. Maybe at some point it'll come to other platforms. This isn't the first time we've had a Switch or Nintendo exclusive game be on that platform and then later on release on other platforms. But we would just have to wait and see. This could be something that sticks only on the Switch 2, but we won't know until later on. So for right now, like I said, the game looks interesting, it looks fun, it looks beautiful, but those 2 things were just drawbacks for me. And the second one in particular was just like, yeah, that I can't do that. Yeah,
they showed this one off at the Game Awards as well. And this is the first time we got to see like more extensive look at some gameplay. I mean, like, after seeing the gameplay more, even though it's co-op only, which I don't like, the gameplay looks really good, and it looks like it would be a lot of fun. I don't know if this is one I want to get or not, because I'm just kind of mixed on it. Like, not because it doesn't look good, because it actually looks great, but because, like you said, it's co-op only, which is not ideal, because really, I just don't know how much I would play something co-op. Like, technically I could play this with my wife, I could play with one of my kids, and that could be fun, but I'm not sure if I want to get a co-op only game on Switch 2 if I was going to get it. If this was on PC, it would probably be a day one purchase, because the fact that I know it would be something I'd be able to play long term, no problems. Switch 2, I have more of a concern about that. Mostly just because of all the issues we've had with the way that Switch 2 handles games and digital games and key cards and all this other stuff. Now, if the game is fully on cartridge, then I will probably end up getting it, whether it's right away or down the line, because I want to support that, of course. But I'm hoping that this is not going to remain a Switch exclusive, that it'll actually come to other platforms, because I would definitely rather have it on PC than anything else. And yeah, it's kind of one of those where I'm not even sure, because it does look really good. It looks like it runs really well. Of course, art style's great. The gameplay looks great. But the biggest issue is, one, that's Switch 2 exclusive, at least for now, and two, the fact that it's co-op only. So we'll just kind of wait and see. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes peeled on it, though, because I could see it very easily being like, okay, it's Switch 2 exclusive for a year, and then it comes to Steam and, other platforms. And I'm hoping that's what they do. But right now, there's like really no way to know for sure, one way or another. I think the one thing that definitely gives me the most pause about buying it at launch is the simple fact that the only person who I would likely play it with, unless I played it with my kids, would be my wife. And since she and I are still slowly working our way through Diablo 4, I don't know how soon we would actually play it, so it would be kind of pointless to buy something if I'm not going to play it right away. But also, if it's a physical cartridge, and if this ends up having more of a limited release, then it might be better to just get it early so that I have the ability to play it at some point. So, I don't know. All right. In terms of other things that stood out to me, the one thing that stood out to me that we haven't really already talked about and that wasn't on your list was Valheim. Now, I guess I was surprised about this one. Like, I haven't played Valheim, but I remember when there was all the buzz going on about it when it was on PC, when it came to PC the first time. And I just thought it was cool that it's coming to Switch 2. I don't know how much of the visuals is just like the default, like how the game normally looks, or how much of it is like, oh, some of this is a little rough because it's on Switch 2, but I'm guessing it's more just the art style than anything else. But yeah, I think it looks cool. I don't know if it's my kind of game, but I think it's cool that it is somewhere other than just PC, because as far as I know, it's only been on PC up to this point. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I know it got ported to, I think the PS5, if not the PS4. Okay. I can't recall if it made it to Xbox or not, although I feel like it should have, but I could be wrong on that.
Probably did then.
Yeah, so Valheim, I'll be honest, I feel like this is a game where I sort of, because it was ported to or at least a PS5, I sort of forgot that it wasn't on the Switch too. So when this was announced, I was like, huh, that's interesting. I thought it would have been here by now. But I definitely think it's good that it's there. I can't really talk too much about the or like if there are any type of downgrades to the graphics. I haven't played the game much personally, and the only time I did play it was when I was helping a friend out with trying to get control set on his Steam Deck, and that's been at least a year since then.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think if it's running on the Steam Deck, it should definitely run better on a Switch 2 with DLSS and a better CPU, GPU, and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it might just be the art style that's like giving pause there. Yeah, definitely think it's great that it's here. I can't, like I said, it's been a while since I played, so I don't remember all the gameplay aspects of it, but I think from what I played, it was a pretty decent game. If you're into survivor type games or base building type of games, it's probably gonna be something up your alley. But yeah, good stuff there.
Yeah, I think if this had come out like back on the Switch 1 in the early days, it probably would have been something I would have jumped into without question, because early on I was like really looking for stuff to play on the Switch because it was very barren in terms of releases when the Switch first launched. Especially after I finished Breath of the Wild, it was like, okay, what do I play now? And there was a whole lot of meh stuff, or stuff that was like, okay, this kept me, I had fun for a little bit, and then that was it. And then once they started putting out some of the bigger things like Skyrim and eventually like Doom and all sorts of other stuff like that, then yeah, sure, at that point it was a whole lot more exciting. But this is the kind of game where I could see it being a really good handheld game. But yeah, obviously if I was going to buy this game, short of it being, once again, fully on the cartridge, I would get it on Steam. Especially because then I could just have better performance across the board. Whether Steam Deck has the same or better performance is irrelevant, because on my desktop I would obviously have significantly better performance. So, but yeah, that was it that I had as far as my stuff for the Nintendo Direct. So what was the next one for you?
Next one, I guess, sort of in the vein of the previous game I mentioned, was a game called Reanimal. And this one was initially a surprise on one end, but then it was a good surprise on the other end. So this is a game from the creators of Little Nightmares, or Little Nightmares Trilogy. And that's a game series that I've also been interested in. I've got 1 and 2, and I think remastered ones. Since I had the first game, I got that one for free on Steam. And I was like, okay, another game from them. That definitely seems interesting. And then I saw it was co-op, and I was like, I like the idea of using co-op in a survival horror game like this, but I'm like, another forced co-op game. But then I saw later on it was co-op as an option, and I'm like,
okay,
all right, I guess this is back on the menu again. So I'm like, all right, cool, another little survivors type game, but this time you can do couch co-op. I'm like, all right, I'm in for this. Coming to Switch 2, but also coming to all the other platforms as well. So I won't get it day one on Steam, but it's definitely a game that I will get down the line.
Yeah, these kind of games like creep me out, so I don't have any interest in it whatsoever. I haven't played the Little Nightmares games. I don't have any interest in playing them. It's just the environments and the chat. I don't know. It's just hard to explain, but yeah, these games just kind of creep me out, and no thanks. I'll pass. All right, what was another game that you had?
Next game was The Adventures of Elliot. And this really stuck out to me. I mean, it's 2D, HD 2D, or is it 2D HD? I never can keep it straight which one it is, but it's also the first game, or at least the first version, to not just be a turn-based RPG or a strategy RPG, but to be an action RPG. And so it's like, okay, that's very interesting to me. And so it definitely is appealing to me, because it definitely looks good, and I think based on what I've seen in the trailer, it's definitely not going to be a Secret of Mana type of game. And I guess essentially a game that couldn't decide if it wanted to be a turn-based RPG or an action RPG. And that is sort of like one of the reasons why I just could not finish that game for the life of me, just because it was making some of the fights were just felt, especially the boss fights, were just felt bad, because I tried to treat like an action RPG, and so I try to stay away from getting hit, and the boss somehow still hits me when I'm nowhere close to it.
Yeah.
But I have to be precise when I'm trying to hit it. So like I dropped out of that game. So this one seems to be more of like, you actually do have to dodge, and the boss actually does have to actually be hitting you to deal damage. And I like some of it looks like you could do some type of like parries and stuff. So it's like, all right, this looks pretty fun and interesting. So I am intrigued. It won't be a day one for me, but I will be interested in getting this sometime down the road.
Yeah, this one, I mean, I had already played some of the demo on Switch 2 last year, and I really liked what I played. But I'm really, really glad this is coming to other platforms, especially because even though like it played well and ran well on the Switch 2, I definitely would rather have it on Steam, especially because I'm guessing, based on what Square Enix has been doing, that it's not going to be fully on the cartridge. If it's fully on the cartridge, I'll buy it eventually. I'll buy the physical version when it goes on sale, but whenever I play this one, it's going to be on Steam, just because it's obviously going to look and run better there. And you know, if I'm not going to if I'm not going to fully own the game on the cartridge, there's not much point in getting it on Switch 2. But yeah, what I played, I did like, and it was good.
I think unless they do something really weird, I can't really see a reason as to why it wouldn't be completely on cartridge, considering the fact that Octopath...
Well, they didn't do Bravely Default, the remaster of that. They didn't do it on cartridge. It was a key card.
Good point. Yeah, I was just thinking of like all of their HD 2D or 2D HD games, like the Octopath games and Triangle Strategy. But yeah, Bravely Default.
But those were also Switch 1 games.
Oh yeah, that's also true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they might.
Yep, game key card.
Do key cards.
It is indeed.
All right then, never mind. I take back everything I was gonna say. Then we'll definitely have to see about that.
Yeah. Lame, but yeah. Okay, so definitely whenever I get it, it will be on Steam. It's a shame, because like I came super close to grabbing Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch 2 last week. I even had ordered it, but then I got like 15 minutes later and I just said, no, I better cancel it, because the game's not actually on the cartridge. Like if I'm gonna get a game that's not even on the cartridge, I may as well wait until it's discounted, because while $40 is not a bad price, I'm not going to play the game anytime soon. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to access it in the future. So what's the point?
Good point.
It's a shame too, because I have the rest of the Final Fantasy games on cartridge for the original Switch. I mean, I have the Pixel remasters, which is 1 through 6, then 7 and 8, then 9, 10 and 10-2, and 12 are all on cartridge. And Crisis Core, I also have on cartridge. But those are all, well, I mean, 10-2 technically isn't actually on the cartridge. But the rest of the games are all on cartridge fully. And, you know, with Remake, it's like, it doesn't even have part of the game on cartridge. It's just the key card. And apart from having it on my shelf, it's like, what's the point? Anyway. All right. Let's see here. I know you, let's see, you had, looks like you had one other game.
Oh yeah. Last game I have that caught my attention and is another sort of skeptical is another Eden Begins. And so this one I saw and I was like, okay, we've got a turn-based RPG. Seems interesting, seems cool. But then after the presentation, I went to like the official trailer and I was like, happened to read a few comments and I saw this is actually sort of a it's I guess you could say a full version of a gacha game, which I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's gonna like I don't know how you technically would even do that from going from a free to play gacha game to, well actually no, either it's, I mean I think this is going from a free to play to like a fully paid game, and it's like I don't know how you would even handle the mechanics and like how everything works. So I'm just like, I'm very skeptical at this point because I'm like, all right, having turn based is cool and all, but you know, if the mechanics are just fully based upon, or at least originally were based upon, you know, just trying to get as much money out of the player as possible, I'm just like, yeah, I'd have to pass on this. So down the line, once it is released and people have played it for a while, I'll probably come back and see, all right, does this seem like it's better? Does it seem like it's worth buying or something? Then I'll decide if I want to give it my money or not. But as of right now, I'm just like, that's fine. I have other turn-based RPGs I can play in the meantime.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, the only thing that even looking at this that the only thing that interested me about this series is the fact that they have had what's the word I'm looking for? Things where they combine with other games, like they've brought in characters from Final Fantasy IX and from Chrono Cross and things like that. It's like, okay, that's really cool. But then I see the art style of the game, like when you're actually playing the game with the character models and the horrible like animations that they have, and just how absolutely terrible it looks. And I just can't stand that style. Like, it is such a huge nope for me. Even if the game is solid, I hate that art style so much. And like it looking like basically like paper craft arms and stuff, where they're just like really stiff, and the way they move and everything, and it just is awful. It's like I saw that for the Kingdom Hearts mobile game that they had, where I watched the cutscenes just to get the story, but when it came to the actual like looking at the game, I would never touch that game with a 10-foot pole, because the gameplay just looks awful. And this is the same deal. It's that same awful art style, which is a shame, because like the actual like official art of the characters and everything looks really good. It's just the actual in-game gameplay, character models and everything is terrible. So definitely not for me. I have enough JRPGs that I actually want to play to where I'm not really interested in this game, that I have even less interest in now that I've seen it in action. All right. Any other games from that you wanted to talk about?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right. So there is a PlayStation State of Play happening this Thursday. That's February 12th. It's going to be about an hour long. And it's going to have both first and third party stuff. So we're just going to give some predictions of what we think we might see there. If it's anything like our predictions for both the Nintendo Direct and basically everything we've done predictions for, we're probably going to get a whole lot of stuff wrong, but this is also just kind of a fun thing to do. So why don't you start us off? What's your first prediction?
All right, so my first prediction, and I bumped this up to the front of the line after seeing something which I sent to you today, is I predict we're going to see a solid confirmation date for Wolverine. Mm-hmm. Now, what I sent just for the listeners, I saw a link to one of the, I think this is the Spanish, I can't remember, or South American PlayStation store, and essentially it said that Wolverine was coming out this fall, but I think since then it's been changed. But I think we're definitely gonna get a solid concrete date on Thursday, so whether or not it's in the fall, could be sooner than that. I think we'll just get a full solid release date saying, hey, it's coming this date, and of course you could pre-order it now. So right. That's what one of the first things I expect to see during the showcase.
Yeah, I agree. That's going to be there for sure. I would say that the chances of that are like 99%. Of course, I also, thought that Monster Hunter Wilds was going to show up at the last Nintendo Direct, and I was completely wrong. But at least in this case, we know that the game is supposed to be coming out this year because PlayStation themselves said that it was when they finally showed off the game for real. And so, yeah, I'd say we're going to get a firm release date, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say, yeah, fall. That's when it's going to come out, just like the listing had, especially since it was an official PlayStation Store thing, and obviously they just changed it because it was probably shown earlier than it was supposed to be. But yeah. All right. My first prediction is going to be that there is going to be a remaster of God of War 2018, and that they're going to do a bundle with that and Ragnarok. It's probably going to be like the Norse Saga or something like that. With PS5 Pro enhancements, which I don't know what those will be exactly, since it... Actually, I don't think it had 4K 60 available. Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Maybe they did actually have 4K 60 on the base PS5 for that game. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Actually, no, maybe not. Yeah, that's right. They wouldn't have had that because part of the reason for the PS5 Pro was that they wanted to make it so people didn't have to choose between quality and performance, and so it was probably 1080p 60 or 4K 30. And so now they would have the option for a 4K 60 on both.
Yeah, I honestly, I could see that actually happening, considering the fact that Last of Us remake, Last of Us Part 2 remastered. I would not put it past Sony to do a God of War Norse saga bundle and just say God of War remastered. I'm just like, why though? Of all the games, why this?
Well, they have to give the PlayStation players some of the PC version features. Well, some. They can't do all of them, obviously.
And think about it. I hate to say it, but it would make sense because of the fact they've got the God of War series that's coming out. I don't know when it's coming out, but
right.
they've got it coming. So considering the fact that they did that sort of with Last of Us, I think that actually is pretty more credible now to actually happen as a result. So yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you then. We might we might be seeing that.
All right. What's your next prediction?
All right, so my next prediction is actually going to be, even though I think one of the last things we've mentioned didn't really say too much about, or rather, that there's still development going on, I will actually predict that Square is going to at least just tease Final Fantasy VII Part 3. Just having, like, a short cinematic clip, maybe having some sort of very brief hint without spoiling what happens at the end of Rebirth, and then just sort of like trying to tease what happens in Part 3. So like that's what I expect, and that's sort of like it for that game for right now.
That would actually make a lot of sense. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but that did give me another idea of something to predict. But actually, now that I think about it, that probably won't be there. But, I agree on... I think Final Fantasy VII Part 3, that would make sense for them to show it at a Sony showcase. Even if it's not going to be exclusive, they could definitely show it off there. That would make a lot of sense. So, good prediction. Well, my next prediction is going to be continuing in the God of War thing, because technically... I don't remember when the original God of War came out in 2005, but I think that we're still before the cutoff for the 20th anniversary, so I think we're going to get some more God of War themed reveals. The next thing I expect is that rumored God of War Metroidvania. I think that's going to be shown off. Mm-hmm. And it's going to have... it's going to... Like I said, because the 20th anniversary was 2025, and it would be like, okay, this is the right timing to where we could fit this in before the 20th anniversary is over, announce this. I think that's when we'll get to see it.
Yeah, I agree that makes sense, since we are in that anniversary period. I think that definitely makes a whole lot of sense on that end. I guess one question I sort of have is, because it's not a, I guess, mainline God of War, is that a game that could possibly be coming to PC at the same time as?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. I think that because it's not the main God of War games, that it is going to be on PC day one. Maybe even Switch 2 on day one.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, I think that definitely is possible, considering the fact that, technically that's also kind of different because it was being developed by another party, but Lego Horizon Adventures was on Switch, same day as the PS5 version. So, yeah, I don't see why I couldn't come over.
Yeah. All right, what's your next prediction?
My next prediction is going to be Astro's Playroom for the PC. I think this is a game that it feels like it would make sense to put this game on PC, and I think enough time has passed where Sony would say, all right, it's time for us to put another game out on PC, and this is probably one of the games I would say.
I think it's Playroom was the VR one. It's
okay, never mind.
Oh gosh, but it is an Astrobot game. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I know what you were meaning at least.
Okay, yeah. I think whichever one it is, I think that is possibly the one that makes sense to bring over. It's been enough time, and I think this is a game that would definitely do well. Oh, just Astrobot. Okay, yeah. Okay. I think this is a game that would really do well. Everyone said that it's a great, solid game, a good, solid platformer, and just overall just fun. So I don't see why not. I would buy it.
Yeah, that would definitely be a good one. I could see even that being announced as is coming to both PC and Switch 2, and then potentially having some Nintendo mascot costumes for Astrobot. I mean, it would be a really good fit for Nintendo, and I'm sure it would sell.
Yeah.
All right. Good prediction. So let's see here. Let me just go through my list. I guess continuing in the God of War vein, there's been rumors of getting like either a Greek saga or a remake. My belief is that they're probably just going to do a remake of the first God of War. They're going to milk users as much as possible. I mean, why give a good deal and give the entire Greek saga? I mean, personally, I would rather have the Greek saga, and this is one situation where I would be totally fine with them offering the option of having all the nudity censored. Like, give it to, give that option for people who want that. I mean, of course, I'd even be fine with them just doing it, period, but I understand why people don't want that changed. And some of the arguments, at least, I think, are reasonable arguments. Personally, I would be fine with it, because then I could fully enjoy the games without having to worry about that. But yeah, I think we're probably just going to get a remake of the first God of War for the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, I agree. I think they probably would do that. And considering the fact that they did have the HD collection, that's probably something they'll just keep for those people who have, I think PS4s and I think PS5s, it's backwards compatible. So if people want to use that, they can, but they'll just say, all right, we're going to completely start over and, start from the beginning. So they'll do that, and they'll probably just slowly do 2 and 3, and maybe they might do the other games like Ascension and what was it, Chains of Olympus?
Yeah, there's multiple games. The biggest issue I think they have is that there's the spin-offs games, because there's Ghosts of Sparta and Chains of Olympus, and then of course Ascension. I mean, I think that the cheapest thing probably that for them to do, which really is what they should do, is just do the entire Greek saga in one collection. Just do that. It would sell very well. You'd get people double dipping. If they did that, they would put it on PC day one. I would say pretty much guaranteed. Because of the fact that it's just re-releasing old games. But if they do it as a remake, that's the one part that I'm not quite sure about. But the one concern I have with the idea of them doing a remake is I don't want them to change the original gameplay. Because while I enjoyed 2018 and Ragnarok a great deal, I thought they were excellent games, they are completely different from the old ones. And I think it's better to remain faithful to the original games if they're going to remake it. While I do expect there will be some censorship if they are going to remake the games, if they at least keep the gameplay the same, keep the gameplay style the same, and just make it a whole lot prettier, I think that would probably be the ideal way for them to do it. At least in terms of if they're doing a remake. Now, obviously, I think it would be best, and really it would be the most pro-consumer thing they could do, if they just literally took the old games, ported them up to work on PS5 and PC, just have that entire Greek saga in a single package, even if it's $70, which it probably would be. But, at least if it's working, all those games are working natively on all those platforms. I mean, especially if you think about being able to play those games on the Steam Deck, the entire collection, because right now Steam Deck, it can do most of the games, but it doesn't do well with 3, probably not with Ascension either, because I think Ascension, I think that was, I can't remember, I think that was PS3, maybe that was PS4. I don't remember which platform it was on. I know that they did God of War 3 remastered on PS4, but I can't remember if Ascension came out before or after 3. But yeah. Either way, I think we're going to see something else God of War for the 20th.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And I think that's definitely a good concern, is wondering if they'll change the gameplay or not, because like you said, the original God of War games play completely different from the current God of War games. So, people who liked the older gameplay and probably weren't too fond of the change in the newer games probably would like to go back to that type of gameplay, more of like a, I guess, hack and slash type of game. So, I mean, I definitely would like to go back and try playing those games. So, if they did keep that that core gameplay, I would be interested in giving it a shot.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to see.
For sure. All right, what's your next prediction?
My next prediction is something that based on a couple things I had seen here and there, and that is a possible Metal Gear Solid Collection 2, Volume 2. And this is something that you've talked about in the past about like being on a wish list of yours. So, this would be one that has Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, and possibly the PSP games as well. And I think this is also a game that's just going to be multi-plat, so going to be coming to PlayStation, also Xbox, Switch 2, and PC. But that's something I think we could be seeing.
I would be very happy to buy that if it actually came. That would be something I would probably consider at least buying it even as a key card. Just because of the fact that I did buy the first Master Collection for Switch, even though it's a key card. But I bought it cheap. It was cheap. It was like $20 when I bought it, so it wasn't a total waste. But at the same time, it is also kind of a waste. So, but yeah, I like the idea of that, and this would be a good place to reveal that for sure. That's an interesting thought. I mean, like, even if they reveal a few of these, I would be pretty happy with the state of play. But I guess we'll see. All right, next we're gonna get into some. Well, actually, I guess first I'll cover things I think could actually be shown before I get into the wish list items. So something that I think could be shown potentially, even though it would be sooner than expected, would be the PC version of Ghost of Yotei. Now, I'm not planning to buy Ghost of Yotei on PC because I'm not a fan of what they did with the story. But I could see it potentially being revealed. I mean, it's been out for a whole 3 months on PlayStation. I mean, it wouldn't be a shadow drop or anything, but yeah, I guess it probably would be kind of early to show it, but it would be really funny if it was shown already, because it'd just be like, wow, that window has just shrunk. Even if it doesn't come out till late this year. But yeah.
That's a game I completely forgot about, but I mean, I guess we've been blocking it from our memories, like you said, because of the story and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised though if they showed it, just because they're like, all right, we really would like to get some more sales on this game and stuff. So like, let's go ahead and make a port now and do that. So I can see it coming. Like you said, it might not come until later this year, but if they showed it off, I wouldn't be surprised. And in a similar vein, I would not be getting this even if it was coming sooner and it was, say even like $40. I'm just like, no thank you. I'll pass.
Yep. All right, give me your next one.
Now this game, this is kind of a more so on the lines of a wishlist title, but that is Demon Souls for PC.
Yeah.
It's copium on my end, but I'm just like, I really would like to see this game just ported already now. It's not like it's Bloodborne where they have to go and like find the source code and make a whole new version and stuff. It's like It's the PS5 version. It's not that hard, buddy. You know what you're doing. You've ported PS5 games before, so please just do this one. If they announce that, I would pre-order that game.
Yeah.
On the day. Like, I would be like, all right, cool. Green Man Gaming, let's go ahead, get that 10% discount, and boom, there we go. I will see you on release day. So yeah, if they do that, I'm already there. But like I said, that's just more of a wish list tile than me actually expecting to see that game be revealed.
Yeah, that's on my list as well. The reality is that the way it's looking, it's almost looking like they're just not going to do this anymore, which is weird because it was on the NVIDIA leak,
right?
From back then, and I think it's one of the only ones that hasn't come yet from the NVIDIA leak. And so it almost makes me wonder if they just decided not to do it for some reason, but I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, Souls games sell exceedingly well on PC. And while, yes, this is a remake of the original, it could still, I mean, it's still going to do well if it sells on PC. So it's just a no-brainer, especially because they had that original reveal trailer where before they pulled it down, it said also releasing on PC. And it's like, it's been almost 6 years and it still hasn't been shown yet for PC. So, I mean, if it never comes, then it's not a huge deal because we can play the PS3 one and we can play it on Steam Deck and get 60 frames per second without a problem. You can play it on desktop and get significantly higher frame rates without any problems. And, it's still completely playable and you can fix a lot of the problems with it, like getting rid of motion blur and other things like that. So it's not as though there's no way for us to play this game, but it would be kind of nice to have the remake. Even if I've heard a lot of people say that they don't like the remake as much as the original, and that's fine. I mean, it's very possible that we would end up feeling the same, but I would be all for buying it, and like you, it would be a day one purchase without question. I'd pre-order that. So we'll see. So my next wish list item. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and give two of them that I see as extremely low possibility, but I'm just gonna put them down anyway. That is a remake of the original Jak and Daxter. While I don't necessarily care about it a ton, I still think that would be a smart thing for them to do. Bring back something from their classics that's different, that's not a third-person, over-the-shoulder action game with stealth elements, narrative and all that stuff. But the other thing that I have that's very much I don't think this will ever happen at this point is a Sly Cooper 5. Because they did, of course, you had Sucker Punch did the first 3, then they had Sanzaru Games did the 4th one, which was actually the first one I played and I really loved it. But that was 13 years ago. that the last one came out. And so I think there's little to no chance of Sly Cooper 5. I think Bloodborne Remastered has a higher chance of coming than Sly Cooper 5, but well, I'm just going to throw those out there, and we'll see if either of them actually happen.
Oh, man. Yeah, I agree. Those would be great to have, and I would definitely be interested in buying one or both of them. Just because while I haven't played those games a whole lot, just because I never owned a PS2, I did play a little bit of them at my cousin's house, and they seemed like fun games, so I would really like to be able to play those games, completely. And so if Sony just like did a collection, put them on PC, I'd buy them, they'd have my money, I'd be happy. But even if they just, like you said, remastered the first game and maybe made a Sly 5, I'd buy that and I'd be somewhat content with that, so just throw me a bone or something, and I'll do it. Like you said, they probably won't show up, but it would be great if they showed up.
Yep. All right, what's your next one?
Now this one is it's a game we already know is coming, but I think because especially because you brought it up about the Nvidia leak, I think there's a somewhat decent chance we'll see more of this, and that is a newer trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4. It's definitely been a while since we've seen anything about this game, or even heard anything for that matter. So I think we might get probably the first possible story trailer for it. It's gonna be longer than the initial trailer or teaser trailer we had before, but it's gonna be something that is a little bit more in depth. And I think it's probably still something that's gonna be 2 or 3 years away, depending on how development has come along. But I think that's something we could see in the showcase.
Yeah, that's one I hadn't thought about. That would actually make a lot of sense to have Kingdom Hearts 4. Just making sure I have all of them written down that we talked about, so that we have a good record of everything for next week when we see how far we actually got, or how much we actually got correct. All right, I'm going to put out my next hopium wish list item, because of the fact that based on what we saw last year, it should be coming at some point. It's just a question of when. And that's Infamous Second Son Remastered. Because we did have that the game was delisted. That was taken out of the PlayStation Plus premium catalog, which is the same thing happened with Horizon Zero Dawn before they revealed the remaster of that. And it was a while ago that they did that for Infamous Second Son, but I still think that we could see that happen, especially because of the fact that, as far as I know, even though the frame rate is uncapped on the game and it probably runs better on the PS5, it's still stuck at 1080p. So them putting out a 4K remaster makes perfect sense. And then, of course, if it comes to PlayStation, it's probably going to come to PC at the same time, since it's just a re-release. And hopefully that would also include Infamous First Light, which was a standalone DLC. That's basically the story that takes place before Second Son, where you play as Fetch. And I mean, they're excellent games, and I think there's at least a chance we could see it. It's definitely more of a hopium / wish list item, but yeah.
That's actually a very, good point. I completely forgot about that. They pulled off from PlayStation Plus. So, yeah, I mean, why they haven't announced anything yet, or even considering the fact, like you said, they did the same thing for Horizon, makes me wonder why assuming, of course, that this is something they're doing. It makes me wonder why they haven't announced it yet, but if it is coming, then I do think it will be coming to PC as well as the PS5, because it wouldn't make sense to just do a simple remaster like that for just the PlayStation and not make extra money and put it on PC as well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain that Sony likes money. I could be wrong, though. But if they do port it over, that is something I would be interested in buying, and possibly day one, depending on how much they decide to charge for it. Just because I never saw too much of the sequel games, but I did see a good portion of the first Infamous game, and it did look appealing to me, so I would be interested in trying out this game as well.
Yeah, and the good thing is that it's separate. I mean, it doesn't like have much of any references to the first games, apart from the general concept of conduits. So it's standalone enough to where they don't have to have the first two games. I mean, you don't have to play the first two games to play Second Son. I mean, I would love to see all three games come over because they're all great games, but just even Second Son on its own would make the most sense, especially because of the fact that it's already visually a great looking game. This is really the first Sucker Punch game that was like really visually impressive. And it came out 12 years ago, the original release, so it's held up really well in terms of how it looks and runs and everything else. So, yep. All right, what's your next one?
This one is just pure 100% pure hopium, but I feel like it's obligatory, and that is Bloodborne PC ports.
Well, it would be a remaster period.
I'm sorry, remastered, which would come to PS5 and PC. It obviously is, or more likely going to happen, but I believe it is a non-0% chance of being shown, and because it's non-0%, that gives me enough hope to that it will be coming. And I also believe that if it is shown, we're just going to get a teaser for it, or at least a short enough trailer, and it's going to be coming within the next 2 years. Yeah.
I mean, if they... Technically, it could still be that it falls within the 10th anniversary. Because I don't know when the game originally released. I want to say it was like April of 2015 or something like that. So if they reveal it soon, I mean, if they do reveal it this week, they could at least have it revealed for the 10th anniversary and released. But I don't know. Even if they don't say anything about the anniversary, they could still show it off if they were going to actually put it out. But yeah, that's on my list too, of course. I mean, it has to be on the list because if it comes, we can at least say, hey, it's finally here. It is a real thing. Even though there's not been anything to indicate that it's definitely happening. It's more likely than not that the only way we'll be able to play this is just emulation. And it's like, that's fine if that's the case, but I would much rather have a native version. Because then specs are less of an issue if you have a native version rather than having to be reliant on emulation. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. But yeah, I definitely, like you, it's very much a hopium kind of thing, and I would love to see it. So my next prediction, this is another wish list item that has a chance of being shown, but we'll see. and that's the Gravity Rush Remastered Collection, which I think, if they do reveal it, whether they say it all in the trailer or not, I think it probably would be PlayStation, PC, and Switch 2. I don't think it would come to Xbox. I mean, it's highly unlikely that it come to Xbox, especially since so far the only PlayStation first-party title, apart from MLB The Show, that's been on Xbox for a while, is just Helldivers 2. So, but I think that there is, once again, a non-zero chance, which that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but we could see both of those games get ported and remastered. Give it 4K 60 on PlayStation and PC, obviously all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, I that definitely makes sense, and I would like to see that happen. Like you said, non-0% chance unlikely, but non-zero is still greater than 0.
Yeah.
And I also agree that if it comes, it would make sense to also bring to the Switch 2, because that is a game that would do very well on that platform.
Mm-hmm.
And
I would buy it there. I doubled it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do think that is definitely a possibility, and I'm not willing to bet against that.
Yeah. I mean, who knows at this point? Like, it really would be a perfect fit, especially for the Switch 2. I think that would be a excellent place to put those games. And I guess technically, if I bought it there and PC, then I would be triple dipping, because I already own the games on. Well, more than that, because I have the original Gravity Rush on Vita, and then I have both Gravity Rush Remastered and Gravity Rush 2 on PS4. So I would be, but if they bring over the collection to PC and or Switch 2, well, I would say, if they bring it over to any place other than PlayStation, PC minimum, Switch 2 likely. But if they bring it over to those platforms, I would buy it on all three, or rather, I would buy it on the 2 that I don't already have it, because they're really good games, and once again want to support that bringing over games that I actually want by purchasing them. So, all right, got any more?
I've got one more, and this actually was spurred by something you just mentioned right now, and that is Helldivers 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Additionally, similar to how Xbox had the Halo Reach sort of crossover with the skins and stuff, I'm going to say that the Switch 2 version will have a crossover with Metroid, and you'll play with Galactic Federation skins.
That makes sense.
So that is my prediction on that end.
That's a good prediction. I don't know how soon we would see something like that, but it definitely could be. It definitely could happen, though. And it's possible that they could have started working on it a while ago, depending on when they got dev kits, but that's certainly possible. I mean, I think PlayStation is going to bring some stuff to the Switch, too. It's just a question of what and when. And how many of those things would be announced at their State of Play. I think most likely they would only announce it at the State of Play if it was something that was coming to other platforms at the same time. Or rather, if it was coming to PlayStation at the same time. While I would like to see them do some more like PC port announcements, because they have done them in the past, I think that it feels like since they announced Spider-Man coming over to PC, that that all the PC ports that have been on their own have been announced separate from State of Plays. Probably just because of the fact that the fanboys got really angry about it, especially with Spider-Man. That was a big deal for them. All right, so I'm gonna just throw. Oh, see here. I think I had a couple more I'm just gonna throw out all. Well, I have three more, and basically I'm not expecting any of these, or rather, I should say, one of them I I put out there kind of as more of a joke, but I could still see happening. Um, Last of Us Remastered Collection with PlayStation 5 Pro enhancements. Even though The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered already has PS5 Pro enhancements. But I don't know that Part 1 does, and so I could see them releasing another collection with that. But then I'm going to put out these last two, which I think are very unlikely. One is a remake of the first Infamous. And the last one is, which is more likely than the remake of Infamous, but maybe less likely than the Last of Us Remastered Collection. And that is bringing the Uncharted Nathan Drake Collection Definitive Edition. I mean, the game already runs at 60 FPS. Those three games run at 60 FPS on the PS4. But obviously it's not 4K. So if they brought it over to PS5 and PC, have 4K 60, they could even potentially do 4K 120. Because they were already doing, like I said, they were already doing 60 FPS on the PS4. So it's possible. It would be nice to see because, of course, they, PC we only have Uncharted 4. And I would love to see them even expand the Nathan Drake collection to also include Golden Abyss from the Vita. Because it was a solid game. I mean, it wasn't as good as the other ones, but it was still really good. I enjoyed it a lot. It's actually the only Uncharted game I actually have a platinum on. That I got all the trophies. So.
Man, yeah, while it sounds crazy, I actually could see that Last of Us collection, just because of the first game not having the PS5 Pro enhancements. But that Nathan Drake collection, I'm just like, that sounds great, and I would love them to do that. But I feel like a lot of these collections make sense and they're good ideas, but sometimes I don't know if Sony likes. yeah, it doesn't mean anything. So it would be great. I would love to see it. But will they do that? I have no clue.
Yeah.
It would be great though.
All right, I'm going to throw out one last minute prediction, which I don't know if it would be revealed this soon. I know it'll come eventually, but whether or not it'll be revealed this soon, that's just Hades 2 coming to PS5. Because we know it's going to come to the other platforms at some point, but I don't know how long the exclusivity window is with Nintendo. So that part I'm not sure about. But, I mean, it'll obviously come over to PS5, PS5 and Xbox. So it's just a question of when, since we already have it on PC and Nintendo.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't think about that. That would be nice.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all I have for everything tonight. Do you have anything else before we get into our recommendations and dissuasions?
Nope, nothing else from me.
All right. Well, why don't you start us off with the recommendations?
My recommendation is going to be to take a break from a game if you aren't enjoying it anymore. This is something that I haven't really thought about too much, and it really wasn't until getting back into Satisfactory I realized that the game sort of felt a bit as a chore to me to play it before, but I think since having that break period and coming back to it now, I sort of have a more enjoyable mindset with getting back to it. So I think if you do that more often with games that start to feel like a chore and you just aren't enjoying, just feel free to step back from it and say, hey, I'm not really enjoying it right now. I'll come back later and play it some more, whether it's just because it's just not enjoyable, whether you're stuck at a hard part in the game, or whatever reason. Just feel free to take a break from it. It's fine to just say, I don't want to play this right now. and come back later. So I definitely recommend doing that.
Always a good recommendation. Well, my recommendation is going to be get meat from local producers or butchers rather than grocery chains. And a lot of times that's not super practical, like it's difficult to do, and I'm not saying you should go out and get half a cow like we did. But in general, like there's ways that you can get meat from local producers rather than having to get the stuff that's just from farms, where the stuff is going to be lower quality, and a lot of times it'll be like they'll use growth hormones and stuff to get the animals bigger and everything so that they can give more meat, and it's just not going to taste quite as good. But especially after eating some of this fresh farm beef, it's just so much better. It tastes so good, and I really have to recommend that you try to do some of that. I'm probably going to try doing that more in the future. A lot of times it's not super practical from terms of cost, but it can be worth it. So that's my recommendation. Dissuasions.
My dissuasion is going to be, do not, it went away. Ugh. Sorry. My dissuasion is going to be, for Hades 2, actually, I think this is something that they tell you about. Well, I guess technically this is more so of a recommendation, but don't forget to actually, well, I guess technically this counts more so as a recommendation, but I'm just going to phrase it as a dissuasion is, don't forget to actually use your run ability. I think something that is, or at least the game emphasizes more of, is your dash. But I think that the run or the sprint is definitely just as useful, especially after you use a dash. And so it actually took me a long while before I even remembered, oh, wait, I can actually sprint in this game.
Yep.
And that actually saved my bacon several times during runs. So I started getting back into doing that again, and it's definitely helped out a whole lot, especially with some of these bosses as well. So yeah, don't forget to use your sprint. It's very handy, especially if you just use your dash and you really still need to get out of there as quickly as possible.
That is very good. Yeah, it took me a while to remember that I even had the option, because you didn't have that in Hades 1, and so yeah, very good. Well, my dissuasion is one that's repeated from previously, but I'm going to repeat it anyway, and that is, do not be a fanboy. I hear way too often people who, they're just so obsessed with like console wars and fanboying over a company and a corporation, to where they don't think rationally or logically about things, and they just get like obsessive to the point where they get where they downplay everything that everybody else likes. Like, PlayStation fanboys downplaying Xbox or PC or what have you. Nintendo fanboys downplaying whatever it is they downplay. Like downplaying Sonic Racing Cross Worlds because Mario Kart World exists, and stuff like that, where it's just like, why can't we just all like playing the stuff we like playing? I mean, it's fine to enjoy the things that you enjoy. It's fine to enjoy games from a certain studio, from a certain platform, all that. Like, I enjoy a lot of games from Nintendo. I enjoy quite a few games from PlayStation. The Xbox stuff, I have a number of them. I haven't played a whole lot of them. And, I have things that I like and dislike on different platforms, but it's not about the platform necessarily, with the exception of, obviously, I prefer PC, but I can still recognize that there's good stuff on other platforms. And if you get out of this fanboy mentality and you just recognize that There's good stuff all over the place. We can all just enjoy gaming and have a good time talking about it and be like, oh, I played this game. I enjoyed this game. It's like, right now I'm playing games on my 3DS. This old platform, most of the games don't run the best. A lot of them, it's like 30 frames per second. There's some that do 60. And it's kind of like all over the place. It's a mixed bag. But there's some great games on there. And, then playing some stuff on my Switch, and then playing some stuff on my Steam Deck and my PC, and just, like, if I cared enough to have a PlayStation, I would probably play stuff on PlayStation, but I don't, because I can get those games on PC now. And, yes, I recognize that we do rag on some of the console things at times, but just don't be so much of a fanboy that you're blind to the possibility that there are games on other platforms that you might actually enjoy. Because if you open yourself up more, then you're going to have a much better time. Because instead of being offended because someone likes a different platform than you do, you can just be like, oh, that's great, I'm glad you enjoy that. And maybe you'll even be interested in it, and then down the line, if it comes over to your platform, hey, you have an opportunity to play it. But, yeah. That's essentially the gist of what I have to say. Alright. Where can people find you?
They can find me on my channel. I am Xeracon. That's IAMXERACON. So youtube.com/@IamXeracon. As I said earlier, had a few snags with my upcoming video, but I'm gonna try again to get out this week as soon as I just figure out the last few things with that. So yeah, so you can definitely expect that coming. After that, I probably won't get to the other video I had planned. It'll just depend on how I feel after dealing with that. But then I have my other channel, Justin's Bible Blog. That's @Justin'sBibleBlog. No new content there either, just because, again, I was focusing on editing that one video, and as a result, I have no idea when the next video on that channel is going to be coming out, but I'll get to that when I get to that.
Alright. Good stuff. Well, you can find me on my YouTube gaming channel @TheFrozenGamer87. I haven't put out anything new in a while, but there's that, what's the word I'm looking for? Video essay on why I love PC gaming. It's over an hour long, but it's just talks about all the great things about PC gaming and why I enjoy it so much more, without doing much in the way of, like, ragging on consoles. It's mostly just talking about the things that I think are the benefits of PC gaming and why I enjoy it so much. But if you don't want to watch the full version, there's also individual segments in a playlist, and you can easily just check those out and see what I have to say if you care. Then there is the YouTube channel for the podcast. On YouTube, that's @TheOrangeBoxPodcast. Rumble, it's not a custom URL, but you can find us there as well. The video version of the podcast goes live every Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time, barring any technical issues. Then there's the audio-only version, which goes live on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and others. And that goes live at 12 a.m. Central Time every Friday, barring any technical issues. If you want to contact us, you can send us an email to theorangeboxpodcast@gmail.com, or you can comment on any of the video versions of the podcast, any of the episodes, and we'll read your comments and or questions on the show. But even if we continue not to get any of those things, we're just still going to talk every week, 2.5+ hours. This week we're closer to 3 hours, and this is how we catch up each week. This is how we get an outlet to talk about video games, and it's a good time. 123 episodes strong so far. 123 weeks in a row, and no plans to stop anytime soon. I think that's everything. So, last chance. Any final thoughts?
No, sir.
All right, well, I am the Frozen Gamer 87. That is I'm Zerocon. We are the Orange Box Podcast, and until next time, don't be a smeared AI frame. Orange Box Podcast. Out.